My name is Rebekka. I actually have just recently gotten married, so my name is now Rebekka Koppel, which whenever I give my email address at the end, there's going to be two separate emails for the time being. So here at Central Illinois, I have started the initiative to try to reach out to the community of those with storm anxiety, and that was the driving force for the webinar we hosted in January and question and answer session following it. So briefly at the beginning of it, this is what faced the public. It was a public webinar. So we gave them the background of who we are, what we do, which all of us being in NOAA know what we do. So I'm going to briefly go through these slides. I also made sure to emphasize that they need to know what county they live in and what surrounds them. That way, whenever there are warnings going out or watches or anything, they would be able to identify where they are on the map. And then went into some details of what our office does and how we are an upper air site and provide atmospheric data for the forecast models and for us to do the forecast as well. So a little bit about me and why this topic is important to me. I am from and raised from Southern Illinois. I've been around all different types of weather my entire life. I moved to South Carolina for a year for college and got to experience additional weather, including hurricanes and tropical storms. So I've seen everything from tropical storms, hurricanes, to winter storms and tornadoes. From a very, very young age, I was terrified of storms. It didn't matter if it was even just raindrops and a drizzly afternoon. I was ate up with anxiety. So much so that my family decided that I needed to be put in counseling, and it helped. But what really helped was learning how to cope and also just learning about the weather in the first place. I made sure I watched shows that were based on weather, reading books based on weather. One that really got me going and drove me this way, along with a lot of people, was Storm Chasers on Discovery Channel. But when I discovered the Weather Channel, that's whenever I really fell into my love for weather in general. And the more I learned, the less I was afraid. And from that moment on, I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life, and to help others who experience the same feelings that I did. And then there's more coping mechanisms that will be shared in a minute. My little secret that I'm going to share is that I still get anxiety when storms move through the area. If I don't have a way of looking at the radar or knowing ahead of time that there's going to be significant weather moving through, it will eat at me. But luckily, as a meteorologist now, I'm able to know ahead of time and know how to read a radar, and that's really helpful as well. You can see here in the bottom of the bottom corner of this slide that there is a disclosure that we are not medical professionals here. So if you have a specific fear, reach out to a doctor or a therapist or a counselor, and not to be ashamed that it's okay to get help. This disclosure is for us to explain to them that we are only providing our resources, NOAA's resources, and not giving any single diagnosis or therapy recommendations. So what is storm anxiety? Storm anxiety is whenever you know that there's some sort of weather coming on, whether it be winter or warm season. You know that there's a storm coming and it eats you. Like you can feel it in your body that you're not okay. So these can include obsessive thoughts, feeling extreme distress when there are any type of weather forecast for your area, or even extreme fear or dread during weather events. This can sometimes culminate into panic attacks while the event is ongoing. This anxiety, this fear is actually very common, but it's more common in children than adults. However, if you've experienced a traumatic or a major weather event, that could be a trigger for you having storm anxiety in the future. It's becoming more common for people to admit that they have this fear, Just because we are now in the age of mental health awareness, that people aren't ashamed to admit whenever they are fearful of something. And it's good because it's allowing people to reach out and get more help than in previous years they would have. So there are 6 different types of weather phobias that I found from the Cleveland Clinic and the Foundations 2 organization, uh, being the fear of thunder and lightning, wind, snow, severe weather, clouds, or rain. These names are fun. My personal favorite is lilapsophobia because it's just fun to say. Uh, but these are some examples of what they would look like. So astrophobia being of the lightning, chianophobia being of snow, anchrophobia being of wind, being demonstrated with wind turbines here. Nephophobia is the fear of clouds, elapsophobia, tornadoes and severe weather, and ombraphobia is the fear of rain. So the causes of weather fears is practically unknown. They aren't exactly sure what causes this fear to develop. A lot of times it's traumatic events when you're younger, or if your parent or sibling already has it. But sometimes they can just develop for no apparent reason, which was in my case. I didn't undergo any traumatic events. My family didn't have any weather fears. I just was scared of them. And this was provided by the Cleveland Clinic. So let's take some power over our fear now. What ways can I overcome this fear? And the best way is by having knowledge of it. Make sure you have a plan. Know where your safe space is. Get a weather radio, pack an emergency kit. When you pack your emergency kit, you can follow the guidelines from ready.gov. They provide a list of things that should be in an emergency kit, like extra medication, flashlights, batteries. If you have kids, make sure you have, if they're young kids, make sure you have formula or diapers. If you have pets, have extra pet food. Make sure you have enough water for however many people are in your family or in your household. Make sure you practice your plan once you create the plan, whether it be once the tornado warning is issued, you go down into your basement, you go into your bathroom, whether that's collecting a pillow to throw over your head, or if you have your safe spot, but it's also a storage area. If you know there's weather coming in, clear out that storage area so that you can take shelter if needed. And make sure you have your ways to receive your warnings, whether that is a NOAA weather radio, your cell phone, your television, a radio outside of a weather radio. Just make sure those devices are charged or they have extra batteries. That way, whenever you do have to take shelter and you lose power, you're able to still receive those warnings. Make sure you know about your local warning systems. Do you have outdoor sirens? Does your community have a mass notification system where whenever an alert or warning or watch gets issued, it goes straight to your phone by text message? Just get to know your area. If you're at a university, perhaps they have email notifications. So just do some research into your community and see what they do provide for you. But the reminder of outdoor sirens is they're made for people who are outside. So you might not even hear them in your house, especially if you're a good distance away from them. So having those additional ways, whether it's the weather radio or a mass notification system, is really useful. Another way to take power over fear is just learning about it. Learn about the weather. Learn its terms, learn its languages. What's the difference between a watch, warning, and advisory? We're in plain language, we're coming up on plain language eras, and that's going to decrease the use of advisory, focusing mainly on watch and warning. A brief explanation of watch versus warning could be done using the cupcake method or the taco method of you have the ingredients being the watch and the food is made, it's ready to be eaten is the warning. And another way to learn about weather and its terms is providing them your sources in the office, whether it be spotter courses, online courses through MetEd, or just saying, hey, come visit our office. We'll give you a tour. We'll show you how the forecast is done. That way they kind of know how the sausage is made, to say, because giving it more of a personal feeling to the public will allow them to realize, hey, we're just like you. This is how the forecast is done. We're always watching the weather. So if anything comes up, we are seeing it. We are letting you know that it's happening. Which is the thought process of allowing people to come tour us and providing these spotter talks. So we here at the Weather Service in Central Illinois, we provided some of our own coping mechanisms that we do here individually in the office for whenever bad weather comes in. So you can tailor this to however you feel fit, however you feel the coping mechanisms would work, especially tailor it to your area, whether that is in the plains or in the Ohio Valley. Focus it strictly on what you think your area would want to hear. For us in here in Central Illinois, some of our tips that we provided were putting on durable shoes. If you have to take shelter that way, if there is damage afterwards, you're not walking out barefoot or in foam flip-flops. You've got some durable shoes that can handle walking on debris. Make sure your devices are charged. That way you still have communication. Hanging out in your safe spot, even if there's no warning and it's just a watch or even no watch, just there's going to be thunderstorms that day. Hanging out in your safe spot can provide a sense of power, a sense of control, knowing that you are where you need to be if anything does happen. Turning on your local news channel, which I know a lot of people are moving away from the typical cable and more towards streaming. But sometimes now the local news channels have live streams on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. So figure out a way to see your local news channel. That way you're focused on your area rather than if you go to Weather Channel, they might not ever look at your area. If it's affordable, if it's in your budget, to have a generator on hand in case you lose power. And this is good for winter storms and when warm season storms. That knowledge is power. The more you learn, the less you're afraid, the more control you have over your fears. However, sometimes it takes more than knowing how to cope. Sometimes the coping mechanisms just don't do the trick, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to take time to overcome these fears, to reach out to friends, family, medical professionals. But every little step you take does add up to big changes. So starting these coping mechanisms, they may help a little, but not all the way, and then you reach out to somebody you can talk to or somebody that can help you get the additional help you need. Will aid you in the long run, will add up to those big changes. So now is whenever I jumped into giving some background information, additional ways they can get information from us here at the Weather Service. And the first stop is our webpage that we adopted from the office in Norman, Oklahoma. They developed it. We just took it to our office and tweaked it to fit our needs and our statistics. So you can find it at the bottom of our webpage underneath weather safety in that blue box. You click on that link and it takes you to this website here, Advice for Meteorologists on Dealing with Storm Anxiety. This is also where you can find the link to these presentation slides and our recorded webinar that we did on January. along with the Q&A session. This website also helps answer additional questions that anyone may have afterwards. And it goes into more detail as well. We provided preparedness infographics to give them an idea of what they need to do to be ready for any of these storms that move through, whether it be cold season or warm season, because storm anxiety is not exclusive to tornadoes and wind and hail. So for winter storm planning, we provided these two planning graphics, giving a few days out, the day before and during, after. We all work for NOAA, we all work for National Weather Service, so at some point we've seen these infographics as they're nationwide, so how they can prepare for them and the terminologies. And then we gave warm season infographics, everything from the stages of severe weather, preparation, outlooks, watches to warnings, and then how to receive those warnings on multiple different platforms. What to do when the wind blows, where to go, what to avoid, and where to take shelter when these storms threaten your area. Showing that the bathroom, interior room is the place to go, especially if you have a basement, go to a basement. And what to do if you're on the road. What happens if you're traveling somewhere? Don't go under an overpass. We all know this. Find a local restaurant or gas station, or just go home. Prepare yourself if you're being outdoors, whether you're going to a fair, staying at the lake, or camping. Don't wait if you know there's weather coming in. And then how they can learn more. We provided the link to our spotter page, where we provide a calendar of when we're having spotter talks and where we're having the spotter talks. And also Comet Met Ed, explaining to them that there are online courses that they can take. All of these options are completely free. It just takes your time, and it does provide good information and allows you to learn more in depth of what you're scared of. Along with the education materials, whether it's a student, a young kid that needs more interactive type learning situations. And then there's also materials for those that are deaf or hard of hearing. So that was the end of my presentation that I gave to the public. So we're going to jump into some decisions we made, why we made them, how you can adopt this, and what we suggest as improvements in the future from what we learned at our first webinar. Some of the decisions we made, we had that disclaimer at the beginning of the slides. That way, they don't assume we are medical professionals and that we are the end-all source. That there are more sources, and if you need that medical help, to find it, because we are not medical professionals, and that we only have the NOAA resources to give to them. And I don't know if you've noticed, but my slides were a blue sky with clouds. The reason why I chose blue is because blue is the most calming effect, has the most calming effect than any other color. This comes from Psychology Today in an article of Dutton, 2009, that it provides us a sense of calming. It reminds us of blue skies and peaceful landscapes. So you do what you want. I just thought I would like blue because we were talking a very stressful topic. This provides a visceral reaction to some people. So adding that blue calming effect seemed to be the right choice. Storm anxiety isn't exclusive to thunderstorms, so we included winter storms as well, because people do have fears of the ice and losing power during cold. And this is one way to provide power over that fear. Our webinar source of choice was GoToWebinar. It has recording functionalities, Q&A abilities, where you can have an additional person, which helps manage the questions and run interference during the presentation. They can be answering questions throughout the presentation before the Q&A. And then during the Q&A, you guys can tag team how to answer the questions. You can mute audio and video for everybody. That way you don't have any oddballs out there that decide to be weird on camera. You can have their cameras off and not see it. Registration is required, but it's free, so it allows you to have an idea of how many people you are expecting. And some additional functionalities that I'm going to share here in a moment. So our results from our webinar that we hosted in January, we had 87 attendees the night of the webinar. We had 190 registered. So, and we've looked at our previous webinars we've done, whether it be partner briefings or whatnot, and it appears that around 50% or a little bit more of those that register will attend. The total length of this webinar was 1 hour and 25 minutes. The presentation itself took about 45-ish minutes, and then the Q&A took about 30. So that Q&A provided lots of questions, a lot of great ones too, which is where the second person really came in help, because there were a lot of them, but they were all really good. Anything from how much wind does it take to blow over a trailer home, a home in the trailer park, whether it be a mobile home or double wide. There were some questions about pets. What can I do for my pet that gets scared? That was interesting. I let them know to just give them lots of treats and love and let them know that they're okay. What to do for kids, which our recommendation was have them color. Coloring allows kids to get their feelings out, based on some articles I read on Psychology Today. And it also opened the door to a new area of community outreach, whether you've talked to those with storm anxiety on the phone. It allowed us to address more widespread those people with that fear, and allowed them an outlet, a way to ask the questions that they had no way of asking before. And it also informed them that we are here. They can call us. They can send us an email. It allowed a new outreach source. However, it did bring out some of those people that need the extra help, that need to reach out to somebody in a medical profession, because those coping mechanisms provided weren't helpful already, and they've already been trying them. This was I don't know, feedback we received from public. Chicago, Illinois got this on their Facebook page because they helped us advertise, and they shared it with us. They really enjoyed seeing the coping mechanisms and hope that they will help them in the future. So some suggestions for improvement looking back. If you're going to use GoToWebinar, some things that we realized, noticed, or forgot about. I noticed that the audio and slides are recorded, but your face isn't. So if you're gesturing with your hand, making size references, they will not be able to see that in the recording. So make sure you're verbally describing whatever you're motioning with your hands. That way, whenever you go back and listen to the recording, you know what you're talking about, and everyone else does too. So again, the audio and slides are recorded, but not visual of you. The question box is not recorded on the webinar recording. So make sure if you're going to answer a question, you read the question out loud. That way, when people go back to listen to the recording, they know what the question was. I often just answered the question and didn't read the question out. And then after watching the recording, I was like, maybe I should have read that question out loud, because I did not know that you weren't going to be able to see those questions. But those questions are archived after the webinar ends, so you can go back and see what the questions were. And make sure to click start recording. I forgot. Luckily, my partner, John Baumgartner, was able to click the start recording button, because I definitely forgot, and that would have been bad. we would not have had the recording to share with the public. And a functionality that I just learned about a week ago was you can ask in the registration section for their county and state. We had no idea where these people were logging in from during our webinar in January. We didn't ask that. But now that I know that that's an option, you can change the default questions on the registration link. You can add where are they from. Like you can make them choose their county and state. That way you get a general idea of where your attendance is logging in from. So I wish I would have known about that sooner, because that was a very useful functionality. Because we had people, just from communication with them, just from the questions and afterwards the emails I received, we had people from Southern Indiana all the way up to Chicago joining us. There could have been people even further out from that, but those were the people that had contacted me directly. And then this next update isn't a suggestion for improvement. It's kind of a, where are we going here at Central Illinois with this initiative? I was able to meet with the NOAA social scientists and reach out to Commander Cami Cooper, our mental health and wellness officer for NOAA, and she has agreed to partner up with me and join on the next webinar. That way we can partner with a mental health professional and actually give advice on therapies and how to overcome this, even more than just the simple coping mechanisms that we could provide based on our website. She can provide more scientific help, and I'm very excited for this next forward motion of this initiative here in Central Illinois. So that is all I have. So thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I have 2 emails right now, Rebekka.Delaney and Rebekka.Koppel. So when you email me, please use both for the time being until the transition is complete. And these were my sources.
All right, thank you, Rebekka. If anyone has any questions, please put it in chat or raise your hand. Not seeing anything, Rebekka. Thanks again. That was a great talk.
All right. Thank you guys so much.